What's going on, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I hope you all had a fantastic holiday weekend, but it's now about that time to start talking about the market again. The S&P 500 right now is in its strongest part of the year, so we're definitely going to talk more about that. But recently it has been disclosed that Nancy Pelosi has made some giant trades lately, and we have a lot of other very interesting things to talk about as well. Make sure to stick with us all the way to the end. We have some great charts and great setups for everyone in today's video, and we're not wasting any time. So Tom, let's get right into them.
Yeah, today was a pretty exciting day in the market, and Mike, there were a ton of stocks that ripped up, like AMD ripped up quite a bit. I know this one was a favorite today among traders. Nvidia was another popular one with Pelosi entering those trades last week, or, well, she entered them a while ago, and we'll get into that in a minute. But, man, Mike, we're getting into that best time of the year with the Santa rally, and guess what the market does today? It goes up again. I will say, though, while it went up, look at the average percent rise this year. It was 0.54%. It only went up 0.42% today. So it didn't even meet the average percent rise, but it was a pretty good day overall with AMD and a few other stocks running. I know NEO had their NEO day over the weekend, and they were up 10%. A lot of people are loving that. Even our bots hit on it. So make sure you guys stick around for that later on in the video. But man, Mike, the Santa rally is keeping going, and I'm happy to see it. You know, the more green the merrier, I guess.
Right? So a lot of people hear the term Santa rally, but they don't even really know what it means. Basically, just so you guys know, the Santa rally is the last 5 trading days of the year, and then it's the first 2 trading days of the following year. So for example, for this year, the Santa rally technically started on Friday, December 22nd, and technically it will end on Wednesday, January 3rd. Right now, we're still pretty early into the Santa rally, and we can see that, you know, the Santa rally doesn't happen every single year, but it has happened almost 80% of the time since 1950, and when the market does end up rallying, it ends up rallying by around 1.3% on average, which is, you know, definitely a nice way to end the year.
It definitely is, Mike, and today we definitely continued on that nice uptrend, and I know NEO's on the chart now, but if we go over to SPY, I mean, it was still a pretty good move, and get this move end of day was actually a new high of the year. I know that we keep saying that video after video, it feels like, but last week we had a bit of a pullback, and today officially, end of day, we got that nice extension up and pushed us up to that new high of the year. Now, the all-time high is just under 480. So if you're looking at the all-time high, just, you know, look right around that 480 mark. But Mike, I am pretty worried that the market could end up double topping up here, and then we end up seeing like a bit of a pullback. And even if we don't see a pullback, look at the last time the SPY was here. It was pretty choppy, at least for about a month or two. So I'll be looking for the market to get a little bit choppy, and we'll see some good moves. But on a daily level, we might start to feel that chop a little bit more here as we approach this key resistance of 480. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Are we going to break this all-time high during the Santa rally? I sure hope we do, Mike, but I don't know. These resistances are pretty stiff, and so many stocks are at key levels. Like Apple actually had a pretty bad day. They just continued to fall down after rejecting at $200 even.
Yeah, so Apple's been kind of stuck in the mud lately, and, you know, even some other big tech stocks like Nvidia have just kind of been like chopping around in the grand scheme of things. And Tom, I saw there was some pretty big news lately with Nvidia with, you know, one of the best traders of all time, Nancy Pelosi. Fill us in.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi actually picked up, looks like 50 call options with a strike price of $120 expiring December 20th, 2024. They're saying this is $1 to $5 million. I'm hearing it's more around the $5 million range, Mike. So be ready for this. It's a pretty big trade here by Nancy Pelosi. And obviously they do all types of things with chips through Congress. Like they actually had the CHIPS Act a while ago. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more legislation going on with Nvidia, especially because of their, we'll say, regulations with China and all types of weird stuff. But Mike, Nancy Pelosi is the new wolf of Wall Street. You know, she just keeps going on. She keeps having more and more crazy trades come out. Unusual Whales has been following him pretty well on Twitter if you guys want to check them out. But man, Mike, she is like the wolf out here over the past few years. Everybody seems to be following what she does.
I have a hot take, Tom, and I'm not a fan of this Nvidia trade. It's like, I know she's trading with, a pretty heavy dollar amount, but I don't know if it's the smartest idea to be buying some Nvidia call options after the thing literally ran from $100 a share, basically, all the way up to 500 just over the course of like about a year. Doesn't seem like the best trade to me, but I guess we'll see how it ends up playing out.
I know, right? Like, to me, it seems wild. And I guess for her, the good thing is that these are the 120 strike calls. Like, even if Nvidia dips, and she probably could just like let these expire, and she'll probably still be pretty well off. But I'm looking at Nvidia here, Mike, and I'm like, this thing's insane here. It's so high. There's like a triple top right around this big $500 resistance going on. Maybe she knows that, something's going to go on and Nvidia is going to start to break that all-time high and maybe run up to like 550 or 600 or something. I don't know. A lot of people are suggesting the market's about to break all-time highs too. I guess we'll have to see, but I'm going to be very careful of this double top coming in, especially with these stocks like Nvidia at $500. Like, that is such a key resistance here. Like, in the short term for most traders, I don't think that you should touch this unless it starts to break resistance. Then maybe you could get into some short-term trades. But man, if you're following Nancy's here, that's a pretty wild one.
No doubt about that. And what's interesting is that the market has had a well over 20% pop this year. And as we go back and look at some historical data points, we could see that most of the time when the market has a 20% pop, the market continues running more even the next year. And on average, the market will run like will have an 8.9% run the following year from a 20% uptrend. So generally speaking, the market rises a lot and it keeps on rising. But what I thought was interesting is that we did have a couple years, like 2022 is a prime example where it's like, the market popped well in 2021, but 2022 was a, pretty big move in the opposite direction. But I just thought this was interesting because it shows most of the time, you don't want to fight against the trend, but we'll see. 2024 is a new year and it's going to be a crazy one, especially with all these elections coming up.
Yeah, and you know what? Everyone always talked about rate hikes in 2022, right? Like, we have to hike rates, fight inflation. That really puts pressure on the market. In 2024, we're talking about rate cuts, which is going to help the market a little bit. At least, that's the thought, right? Things could turn out to be a little bit different, but for the most part, that should help out the market. So I'm curious, Mike, if we'll continue and maybe stick with the averages here. Hopefully we do, and we get a nice pop. I'll tell you, if we run like 8 to 11% next year, above these current highs, I would be so happy, especially considering the prices some of these stocks are at. But we'll have to see, Mike, because as we know, these seasonal changes can be weird. And next year is actually an election year, too, which throws a big wrench into things.
Exactly. And speaking of election years are actually a lot choppier in the first quarter of the year compared to like just a normal year. So like, as you can see on the chart right here, and the light blue line shows like the average for, basically every year since 1950, with the exception of if it's an election year. And for the most part, Q1 ends up being pretty good, where when you only look at the election years, the story's a lot more different as there's a lot more chop and mixed movement. So that's just another thing to keep in mind going into 2024, because, the whole environment's just going to be a little bit different than usual.
Yeah, definitely. And, everything, I'm not going to say like, that everything that necessarily hinges on the presidential election, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of things that will just continue to do well and et cetera in the markets, and the feds are probably just going to continue on their path too. They try to be as unpolitical as they can, but there's just so much that can go on from the president and just from, the overall sentiment with the market and everything. I mean, I'm not, saying this for sure, Mike, but we'll probably see a pretty crazy year next year. I hope that it's a pretty fun one. Hopefully the SPY doesn't double top, though, and we don't start coming back down, or else people are going to get pretty freaked out. But I know that as far as this year goes, there's not much time left, and we're during the Santa rally, so for the short term, at least maybe we can continue to see that push up towards that 480 mark. But man, until we break 480, it's going to be hard to get overly bullish here in the short term, at least.
Yeah, and then one other thing before we get into the setups for tomorrow, Tom, we have an enormous week for earnings. Fill us in.
Yeah, it will be, Mike. And guys, make sure you pay attention here. So get ready. It's one of the biggest earnings weeks of the entire year. And here it is. Nice and empty for us. There's actually like nothing going on. And there were some pretty crazy stats here. They're saying that it's the first time since 1997 that not a single company, with analyst estimates, keep in mind, reported earnings during the last week of the year. The first time since 1997. And Mike, what happened a couple years later? We had the .com crash. I'm not saying, no, I'm just messing with you guys, seriously. But yeah, this is looking fun though, Mike. We're gonna have a big week as far as earnings. But going over to the economic side of things, there's not even much on the other calendar either. So it looks like this week is going to be mostly about the price action and mostly about that magnificent Santa rally, I should say.
There we go. Well, with that being said, Tom, let's get right into some setups for tomorrow. One stock I'm watching very closely right now is MSOS. So basically, this is a stock that follows a bunch of, MJ stocks. And, with the elections coming up, obviously this industry has a lot to gain. The stock was up around 10% on the day. Some great volume was flowing into this one. And all around, bulls are definitely in control of it in the short term. And I think right now it's presenting a great risk-reward setup. Obviously, stocks like these are super crazy and they're very volatile. But, when they move to the upside, they move to the upside quicker than like almost any other stock out there. So like with MSOS right now, maybe, right now the stock's around $7.15. Maybe the stop loss goes down to like, I don't know, maybe like $6.20 or so, and maybe the profit target is all the way up to like that $9.60 level or even higher. It's just like presenting a really good risk-reward setup down here, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I like this move off support, and I've been eyeing up the MJ stocks for quite a while, Mike. People know that I generally like Tilray quite a bit. That one had a good day, and I even like PLNH as like a bit of an outlier if anyone's looking for like a cheaper one to maybe gamble on a little bit more. But yeah, I love the MJ stocks, Mike. I'll keep my eyes on MSOS. It's like a nice makeup of those US cannabis ETFs or cannabis companies. Sorry, guys, but going into my first play of the day, I'm looking at NIO to the upside. And Mike, we all know that I've been loving NIO a lot lately. I was hyping up NIO Day quite a bit over the past couple weeks, and it ended up paying off. It's up 10% today, doing quite well. If it can break above that high of day right around like 945, then I'll look at calls again tomorrow just above that 940 resistance. So let's keep an eye on NIO. It has some hype right now, and I think it has a good chance to continue since it broke out above that recent high.
There we go. Yeah, it had a fantastic day today, and actually our bot definitely capitalized on this one. So basically our bot today called out some NIO call options very early on, around 25 minutes after the market opened. We could see Sniper Bot calling out the 9 strike calls at $41 each, and by the end of the day, these things were trading for $57 each. So obviously that's a great run right there. It was a pretty easy alert, and all around it was pretty great. If you guys want in on this type of action, as well as access to all of our other bots, our live events, our educational channels, and you want to chat with Tom and myself all day long, then definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. The Stocked Up trading floor is the place to be for short-term trading. We have some great bots, and we have some very exciting updates coming in less than a week or so. So definitely check it out. But back to today's video. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is GLD, and gold prices ended up having a pretty decent day today. I have been pretty bullish on gold and silver over the past couple weeks, and they've definitely been running. And I think GLD, especially if it keeps up this level of momentum, has a good shot at continuing even higher. So GLD will be close on watch for me tomorrow.
Yeah, GLD's been doing great lately, coming up again, and I'm glad it started to break back out. You know, it got choppy for a couple days, but it's starting to come back very, very well. With my next play, Mike, I'm actually going with AI to the upside. I know that this is a bit of a, I guess, like a hype stock. You know, it's very high at the moment in the grand scheme of things, especially like when you zoom out like on a daily chart, right? Now this is only like off of this year, especially off this recent low. You know, a lot of people might say, well, oh my gosh, Tom, that doesn't look like a big move, but from the bottom to where it is now, it's up 26%, and at the recent high, it was up 44%. This stock has been having quite the movement, and it actually dipped down quite a bit recently. So I'm going to look to buy this dip and maybe trade this back to the upside as some of these stocks start to recover here over the next couple days. And when I say stocks recovering, Mike, I don't mean Apple. I mean some of these smaller, more beaten down companies like AI and SQ starting to come back alive. Very similar setups out of these beaten down stocks.
All right, good stuff there. So with that being said, Tom, I guess we're all clear for the momentum plays. With the first one for today, we have that crazy stock, Peloton, to the upside.
Peloton has been pretty insane lately, and it's been generating a lot of hype. You know, I've seen a lot of people talking about it in Discord. If it can break above $6, and I would say just $6.30 tomorrow. Go ahead and look at it to the upside. There is some resistance around $6.25 that I was eyeing up, but in the grand scheme of things, there's some great wicks up here right around $6.30. So try to make it break up there.
All right, with the next one, we have Zoom, also to the upside.
ZM, a very hot stock in the short term, up 2.3% today. If they can break 74.50 tomorrow, go ahead and look at calls. I've had this resistance here for a while.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Amazon for both directions.
Yeah, Amazon was pretty rough today, kind of like Apple, you know, very stuck in the mud over the past couple weeks. I mean, look at that flatness. It's pretty rare to see these stocks get this flat, but if they fall under 153, then go ahead and look at puts. I just threw that support there on the chart to the downside. If they end up breaking above 154, then look at calls. There's like a little 1 point range here that this stock has had tons of bounces in. I mean, just look at that movement here. It's been channeling pretty hard.
There we go. So we have that downside level for a potential break lower, and then we have the upside level for a potential break higher, and that is for Amazon. Don't forget about the upside levels with Zoom and Peloton. These momentum trades are only trades if they break the levels Tom listed, so definitely keep that in mind. But it's now about that time to get into today's big money $5.37 million trade of the day. This one's definitely, a big one right here, and it is with NIO, ticker symbol NIO. Basically, the big money dumped, we'll call it $5.4 million into the NIO 6 strike call options that expire on February 16th of 2024. The big money has been trading a lot with NIO in a bullish way, and NIO has been moving in a very good way over like the past couple weeks or so, and overall it's really starting to move with some momentum. I really like the risk reward here. That doesn't mean it's guaranteed to go up, but it's presenting like a pretty good risk reward, especially if you give it time. Like if you're someone who like is only willing to give it like a day's worth of time, then you shouldn't be trading a setup like this. But if you're willing to let the setup play out and let these big money trades, work in the way they're intended to, then I think this is a stock that everyone should be watching pretty closely over the coming, over the coming weeks and months.
Man, Mike, I'll say this. There's been a lot of hype with NIO in the Discord lately, and getting some of these big money plays and just setting them and forgetting them has been amazing lately. I mean, I'm up almost over 100% plus on the first 9 strike calls. I ended up not even grabbing the 750s because it just popped up so much. I was like, screw it. We're already heading up to 9. I might as well just stick with the riskier strikes. But man, it is doing great here lately, starting to run back up. And I know a lot of people have been following these big money plays. Now there's another one for $5 million, almost double the other two. Mike, you think that these guys are doubling down on it or something? I'm sure it's only out to February this time, not June. But I love the play. There's a lot of momentum short term. There's even a little gap to fill up to around $10 or so. So I'm going to really be watching $10 on NEO over the next couple months. But it has been an amazing stock. We've also talked about this great support around $7. There were so many opportunities to buy this as the big money were getting into some of these other plays, like literally right on support over the past couple months. So whoever took advantage, let us know in the comments, because I'm sure a lot of people did.
Oh, yeah. And Tom, one of my favorite things about the setup is that little red box in the bottom right corner. It says basically no correlation to SPY. And that's a great thing right now because, while the market statistically goes up around this time and, while it's easier for the market to rise than fall, at the same time, the market still is kind of overbought, right? And, there could easily be some profit taking that comes into play, or the market can just, continue its uptrend. But at the end of the day, it's uncertain for the market overall. And when you have stocks that don't move with the market, those can be great areas in uncertain times. So either way, I like how it just does what it wants, and it, usually isn't affected by like the overall market's movement too much, at least.
Yeah, exactly. And then we just had NEO Day, and there's a lot of hype to the upside off of NEO Day as well. It sounds like the event went pretty well, and traders are liking the event post-event, right? Like, what about all these Tesla events that have actually sent the stock a little bit lower, and now NEO's having a nice event popping back up? It's about time, Mike. I will say, though, the EV stocks in general did great today. Rivian had a pretty good move. I know it pulled back a little bit, but, man, even at open, they had a nice one. LI, which is another China EV stock, was up like 3.77%. So we're seeing a lot of these, EV stocks starting to pop back off a little bit here.
There we go. Well, with everything being said, Tom, even though it's like the last week of the year, it is set to be an exciting one. Even though there's not really any earnings or economic data points, we are seeing some pretty big moves out of, stocks like NEO, but even other areas in the market like MSOS and stuff like that. On top of that, the market made a brand new yearly high as well today, which is definitely always a good sign, but it should be a pretty exciting end to the year. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. And again, if you want in on the Stocked Up trading floor, check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. You can chat with Tom and myself all day long, get access to big money, multi-million-dollar trades every single day, as well as all of our bots alerts. So definitely check it out. And besides that, guys, let's make the last week of the year a great one. Thanks for watching.